What's up, guys? So, Cody here. This is going to be my second week of team building for competitive Pokemon. And yeah, I'm actually going to be using Rillaboom in this team, and I'm really hyped for it. I've had a lot of success with this in the online ladder, and I can't wait to see how this works in a tournament environment. And yeah, so the main things that I did when I started making this team was I looked at my old team and I looked at what was weak with it, what I didn't like about it, some of the stuff that was countering it really well, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna make sure I can beat those things this time around. Along with like just other things that I saw that I didn't exactly account for, but my old team could handle relatively well anyways. So, um, first off, I wanted Sylveon. I wanted a more standard Sylveon set this time around. So Throat Spray Pixelate with Hyper Voice, Mystic Fire, helping him protect. This is a pretty generic set. The only thing that's probably a little different than what you're used to seeing is the stat spread on this. The stat spread on this helps it survive various things, like the defense EVs makes it so that it will not get two shot by a no attack investment Corviknight, which is really big. And the modest nature here makes it so that it is guaranteed shot on a Ferrothorn with Mystic Fire, as long as it's not raining, I think. Forget the exact calcs, but um overall, yeah, pretty happy with the time. I put a lot of time into doing a lot of calcs for different stuff. So I'm really just happy with the amount of effort I put into this game. So yeah, Sylveon gets used quite a bit. It's pretty much just like anytime they have a dragon, it's like, okay, do I bring Sylveon? It's kind of scary to bring Sylveon when they have Excadrill, as it requires me to kind of deal with Excadrill first, as Excadrill will always KO Sylveon. If Excadrill has a -1 attack, I don't think it KOs, but for the most part, it's just disastrous. So yeah, Sylveon, a pretty big player here. Next up, we have Dragapult. This is a very interesting Dragapult set. As you can see, it has Dive and Expert Belt. So, something that I like having on all my teams is Surprise Factor, and Rillaboom is definitely a Surprise Factor. We'll get to him later, but I like having different moves that make it, a little bit unique. And Dive is definitely a unique move for Dragapult, as you'll never see a Dragapult use Dive. And you generally don't see Dragapults have used extra belt, let alone you don't see extra belts in the format typically. So, why is this so great? Why do I have Dive on a Dragapult? Pretty much, as you can see, there's no water type here. So my opponent might feel really safe bringing in any ground, any rock, or fire types because they don't think that I don't have a way of dealing with it. And let's say somebody leads with a fire type. Let's say somebody leads with Rotom Heat. And I lead Corviknight Dragapult. They're gonna want to keep Rotom Heat in so that way they can hit the Corviknight. But then Dragapult just one shots it with Max Geyser. Like you have to it's just nobody expects Dragapult to have Dive, and Dive is never used outside of Dynamax. But Dragapult gets Dynamax almost every time, so it's like I really want to use him. I really want Dive on this thing because it's a surprise factor. Now, I originally had Choice Scarf on this, but like I've been saying, Dynamaxing this is like I like Dynamax this almost every game. So having Expert Belt over Choice Scarf is a really, really big deal because obviously Choice Scarf goes away when you Dynamax for its effect. But Expert Belt, Expert Belt won't. So an extra 20% damage on any of my super effective moves is amazing. And it makes it so that it can actually one-shot. If it Dynamaxes, it will one-shot opposing Dynamax Pokemon more often than not. And if it can't, generally a Helping Hand gets the job done. as long as it's using a super effective move. Like for the most part, like Dragapult versus Dragapult matchups. My Dragapult is generally faster because it is a Jolly Dragapult. But if they both Dynamax, my Dragapult generally never kills. Or I think I forget the exact calc for it. It's either when my Dragapult Dynamaxes it almost never kills, or when it doesn't Dynamax it almost never kills. Either way, with Expert Belt, it is a guaranteed knockout, one way or another. So, yeah. The one thing that I don't know is actually any good anymore, because originally I had Choice Scarf on this, which is why U-turn made a lot of sense, but now with Choice Scarf gone, I don't know if U-turn is worth it. It could be useful to just make someone think I have Choice Scarf on this when I actually don't. But yeah, this could maybe be changed in for Protect. I'm not too sure, but yeah. So let's get into Rotom Heat, since I was talking about that a little bit. Rotom Heat, Wikiberry, items kind of. This is the like one Pokemon on the team that I'm not sure about. The stat spread on this is kind of generic, but for the most part, this will live a lot of different things. As long as it's not coming from like a Choice Band or a Life Orb Pokemon that's like max attack. So yeah, for the most part, this lives a lot of different stuff. Originally, I was taking this a lot when I first was making this team and practicing with it, but the more and more I play with this team, the less and less this gets used, unless I really, really want the ability to Will-O-Wisp something, or to just try to hit something with Overheat or T-Bolt. I have T-Bolt instead of Volt Switch on this because for the most part, when this is in, I never really end up swapping it out. And then Helping Hand is to just catch people off guard, to think that this Rotom is actually like, oh, like I said, Rotom, no, they can expect Will-O-Wisp, they can expect Overheat, they can expect T-Bolt or Volt Switch. A lot of times people don't expect Helping Hand, so it just it's something to catch for them off guard. And you'll notice that Helping Hand is kind of all over this team, because there's a lot of times where if I Helping Hand something, it guarantees out opposing Pokemon. So yeah, I think this originally was meant to deal with Bravery. Not too sure about how I feel about Helping Hand on this anymore, but overall, this is still really useful for just having a heavy hitting Overheat. T-Ball is still good for dealing with Gyarados, even though yes, Gyarados can one shot this with a Waterfall if it's like a Choice Band Gyarados. But yeah, with a Intimidate, I think this lives. Waterfall from Gyarados. Not sure. Get the exact house, but I can always Tailwind with Corviknight, which we'll get to later. So yeah, this is probably the weakest thing on the team. But if I had to get rid of this, I'd have to kind of go back to the drawing board for some of the other things on the list. Because if I was to get rid of this, this would just immediately change to Rotom Wash, and if I have Rotom Wash, then I might get rid of Dive on Dragapult. But then it just causes a little bit of a mess. But anyways, on top, I wanted an Intimidate Pokemon because I really, really like having an Intimidate Pokemon. Generally, this never leads unless my opponent has no like Defiant or competitive users on their team. But yeah, this is kind of straightforward for the setup. The I Pop a Berry gets Fake Out, Close Combat, Wide Guard, Helping Hand. For the most part, this is being used like 100% of the time against any team that has Tyranitar Extra. This is used all the time. Close Combat will always kill Extra. Will always kill Tyranitar. It will kill Tyranitar with a -1 attack. It will kill Extra. It will almost kill Extra with a -1 attack, but a lot of Extra have Focus Sash anyways, so it doesn't make a big difference. Wide Guard is great for opposing Rock Slides. It's great for Dazzling Gleams, which are something that you'll probably see somebody try to use against this. So like Sylveon and Togekiss are really popular. If my opponent tries to use those against Hitmontop, I just Wide Guard. and yeah, they can't hit Hitmontop. And then there's Helping Hand for when Helping Hand in general. If I feel like if I feel like whatever Helping Hand Pokemon is gonna get taken out, I can just Helping Hand my partner and just KO something, which is just really nice. So yeah, the stat spread here, more or less, just the attack was what was the important thing. Um, Making sure that it can KO various things with this is really nice. And yeah, Corviknight. This has the Citrus Berry. The reason why this has a Citrus Berry and over a 33% berry like Rotom and Hitmontop have is because a lot of the calcs that I did for this setup had it where it was getting put right under 50% health. A lot of the moves that it was taking hits from generally did about 60% of its health. So having Citrus Berry is very nice because it makes those moves now a 3-hit KO instead of a 2-hit KO because a 33% berry would not activate. So yeah, Mirror Armor, of course. I wanted a Tailwind user, so Corviknight seemed like the best option, especially because I wanted a Steel type as well. So yeah, Ironhead Braybird, straightforward. This EV setup for the 132 attack EVs makes it so that it will one-shot max HP, no defense invested Sylveon. Yeah, and I think if I remember the calc properly, if the Sylveon has any bulk, I can Helping Hand, and Corviknight should take it out at that point. And if I think the Sylveon's gonna Dynamax, I think that if I Dynamax and Helping Hand, this more or less takes it out. Not I don't remember the calc exactly on that, but I know that Corviknight versus Sylveon, Ironhead will knock out the Sylveon if it's got no defense investment, which is really nice. So this is essentially my Sylveon counter, and it's a Pokemon that I'm always going to bring I think that if my opponent has Tailwind, because I need to make sure Dragapult attacks first. I need to make sure that happens, so I need to make sure that if my opponent's going to set up Tailwind, I have to also set up Tailwind as a counter. Or I can fake out, or the other thing that I can do is, with this setup, Brave Bird will knock out, like Whimsicott is a popular Tailwind user. And Whimsicott has Prankster. So with this setup, I can lead Hitmontop and Corviknight, and Hitmontop can fake out the Whimsicott, and then Corviknight can Brave Bird, and that knocks out their Tailwind user, which is really big. Or instead of using Hitmontop as a fake out user, I can use Rillaboom. So this is really interesting. Yeah, I think this spread is correct. I'm not 100% positive. I think it's more or less about accurate to what I have in game. But yeah, the Adamant Nature. But yeah, Adamant Nature. Adamant Nature, Max Attack, Life Orb. So that way, this thing hits like a truck. Fake Out, Wood Hammer, Drain Punch, Protect. This thing gets Fake Out, which is amazing because now I have 2 Fake Out users, Hitmontop and Rillaboom, for double Fake Out, which is going to really catch people off guard. A Max Attack, Life Orb, Wood Hammer is guaranteed to one-shot any Rotom Wash that is not max HP, max defense. It is guaranteed knockout on them. If that Rotom is going to Dynamax, I can Helping Hand Rillaboom, and it will then one-shot the Rotom anyways! Which is just, ooh. I would also just take a bajillion damage because of Life Orb and Woodhammer recoil. But taking out an opponent's thing would be great. The 20 speed EVs means that this will outspeed any Rotom that has only 4 EVs in speed. If they have any more than 4, then this does not outspeed. But this also means that it will outspeed any Rotom with a Tailwind up anyways, which is really great. In addition, Woodhammer honestly just hits like this setup. There's so many things where I was like, oh, like originally I just had Rillaboom in here just to like take out bulky waters, but as I started practicing more and more of the team, I was like, hey, I could just use Rillaboom here, and then like I could just like because no one knows what Rillaboom does, like they can assume Woodhammer, but that's pretty much it. No one knows what Rillaboom does. No one knows how much damage this thing is gonna output. So I'm just gonna send out Rillaboom. I can fake out, or I can just pressure with a Woodhammer. Woodhammer is going to knock out so many things. I remember like somebody like swapped in like a Gyarados into the slot. Rillaboom was attacking. Woodhammer just one shot that Gyarados. Woodhammer just one shot so many things that I was like, oh, I didn't know it could do that. Which is great. Drain Punch is here just honestly as just another move, to be honest. This thing's move pool isn't exactly amazing. It gets Earthquake, but it's like my team doesn't really benefit from Earthquake too. And the best things for like Earthquake to hit would be a Rotom, but you would need Mold Breaker for that. This also gets U-Turn, but yeah. This thing also gets Superpower. I did not want to use Superpower or Hammer Arm. That's cool. Showdown. Keep disconnecting me. I did not want to use Hammer Arm or Superpower because I didn't want the stat drops. And yeah, I just felt like Drain Punch is pretty good because it'll give me some extra health back, give me some extra sustain. And yeah. And Protect is Protect. This thing catches so many people off guard. And yeah. For the most part, when I made this team, for the most part in testing, and when I made this team in general, the plan was to just kind of always Dynamax Dragapult. Occasionally, Corviknight gets Dynamax, so that way I can get the max Airstream speed boost. And then every now and then Rillaboom gets Dynamax just to catch somebody off guard. But for the most part, Dragapult gets Dynamax every game. Dragapult gets taken almost every game. I don't think there's been like a single game where I haven't taken Dragapult. And yeah, this team is just really, really fun. It catches people off guard when I'm doing the online ladder like 24/7. 24/7 people like don't know what Rillaboom does, don't know how much damage Rillaboom does. People aren't expecting dive on Dragapult. People aren't expecting people don't expect Wide Guard on Hitmontop, which is just insane to me. People aren't expecting Fake Out on Hitmontop or Rillaboom. People aren't expecting me to just do certain plays that I do. Like people aren't expecting like Helping Hand. People aren't expecting this, and that. People aren't expecting their Pokemon to not KO my Pokemon because I have my Pokemon set up to live various things that they want to do. And yeah, in a best of one format, this team I think works really well. There's some teams that if you bring something very gimmicky up against this team, you do have a very good chance at winning in a best of one format against this team. But um but for the most part, this team has won I think 80% of the games I've done with it, and I've played probably 20, 25 games on the ladder with this. So that's a pretty good sample size. The one thing that I'm not too sure how this is going to work, and we'll find out tomorrow in the tournament, is I don't know how well this team is going to work in a best of three. Because like I said, there are some teams that in the best of one might beat this. For the most part, this team dominates in the best of one. And that's why it dominates in the online ladder. In a best of three match, I don't know how well this is going to work because there's a lot of I'm holding a lot of cards here. Like dive, extra belt dive. They might not be expecting that. They also won't know like if this is physical or special Dragapult when I send this out. A lot of times, I think it's safe to assume that Dragapults are physical since that's the higher stat. But yeah, if I max Geyser, then they won't necessarily know until they won't necessarily know unless they have their Pokemon statted certain. But after I max Geyser one time, they know, okay, Dragapult has a water move. I gotta be careful about that in the next match. Like, maybe I don't take this or this. If I have Wide Guard on Hitmontop, they know, okay, we can't use, like, Rock Slide if Hitmontop is out now because it could Wide Guard. And then they'll also know, hey, Hitmontop has Fake Out. We gotta be careful of that. They'll know Hitmontop doesn't have eject button, which some Hitmontops like to carry. I don't like eject button because I just don't like that. If I put Hitmontop out there, it's staying out there. If I really want to recall it and switch it out so that way I can get another Intimidate off, then that means I'm in the end game and I don't necessarily care. I'm just I'm in the end game or I'm about to be in the end game and I'm setting myself up to win the game with the enemy Pokemon having a bunch of stat drops. My opponent won't know what Rillaboom is going to do in the first match of a best of 3. They won't know that it's going to have Fake Out. They won't know that it's going to hit like a truck. They won't know a lot of this stuff. But after I play them in the match, they're going to know, okay, Rillaboom hurts, but Rillaboom's not exactly the tankiest Pokemon here. 90 defense is pretty nice. It'll make it so that it lives for the most part, most physical moves. 70 special defense, it's not gonna take a special hit very well at all. In fact, a lot of special hits that aren't even super effective might just KO it. So yeah, like Rotom not having Volt Switch and having T-Ball instead, and having Helping Hand. Like, there's a lot of stuff here that once I've played that card, it is then a mind game between me and my opponent of, do I take this next game or do they take what this is countering next game? If they do, if they don't, then okay, what else are they going to take? Should I take something different as a result? Should I start differently, etc., etc.? So there's a lot of mind games that are going to be happening after the very first game, I believe. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with the team. The only thing that I'm not exactly happy with is this Rotom Heat. I think the stat spread might need to be a bit so that way it lives various other things. I may try to just experiment with like a Choice Specs or Choice Scarf variant Rotom Heat later on with something similar to this team. But yeah, for the most part, I think this team's main weakness is like rain teams are kind of scary for this team because Rotom Heat can't really deal with them. Rillaboom and Hitmontop are both weak to flying moves. Rillaboom can't really. I think Rillaboom like dies to Pelipper Hurricane that has like any investment into special attack. I think. I think it might just die to it anyways. Not exactly sure. But yeah, I don't really have too much for Rain Team. So yeah, if the Rain Team is trying to manipulate Dracovish, I can work around that very easily. I know how to work around Dracovish with this team very, very well because I've had a lot of practice with it. But overall, there are certain things here that are very, very scary for my team to deal with. And if I just kind of run up into it, I think I'm screwed. But there's not a lot of people running Rain. There's not a lot of people running Gyarados. Especially like Rain Gyarados. There's nobody running that. No point. But yeah, that's one of the teams that like I think in a best of 3 format, this team might actually be able to beat what it's weak if I can play enough mind games with my opponent. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm really, really excited to see how I do with this team. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. I will have a post-analysis video whenever with the tournament. So this is Friday. I'm recording this. I'll probably have it up Friday night, Saturday morning. The tournament will be Saturday, which means I'll have a post-analysis up Saturday night or Sunday morning. And so thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. The code for this team will be down in the description below if you want to use it. And yeah. Thanks for watching.